USA Ultimate is proud to present the 2015 College National Championship. This is the big one between Stanford and Oregon, live from Eline Soccer Park in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Yesterday in the semis on E3, both win comfortably. Oregon over British Columbia, Stanford over Carleton College. Good afternoon, I'm Jim Barber. This is Evan Lepler, who started at Wake Forest. This is the game everybody's anticipated, everybody has hoped for. And with Lou Burris coaching his final game as Oregon head coach today, it takes on even more drama. What do these two programs mean to the sport in general?
Well, in women's ultimate, over the years, these have been the two most dominant programs. Stanford set the standard, 7-time national champions, but they haven't won since 2007. For Oregon, this is their 7th straight trip to the semifinals. They've been to 5 finals, including today with 2 championships, looking for a 3rd one this afternoon.
Yeah, indeed, Stanford's profile is terrific. Those titles began in 1997, and they had 2, not 1, but 2 three-peats in there.
Great players, Callahan Award winners like Dominique Fontenette and A.J. Johnson, Stephanie Lim, their Callahan nominee. They're going to count on her to play defense, but Michaela Meister was the star of yesterday's show against Carleton Syzygy. She just knows what this team needs. She can handle, she can cut, she brings great energy when the team's down, but she's also a calming presence when they need to settle in and just play smart ultimate. They're going to need her to be as good as she was yesterday. Her dance moves are pretty good too.
I would say her goal-scoring celebration is second to none. Now let's go to Fugue and look at the profile and the championships they won starting in 2010.
I mean, you can't talk about women's ultimate over the last decade without focusing on Oregon. They're in the championship game every year. Bethany Kaler, a worthy Callahan nominee. This is a team full of stars with Alex Odie and Jessie Schaffner, who just continues to make these unbelievable highlight reel plays. She's only listed just over 5 feet, but her speed and intensity are unbelievable. She's got all the throws, she's got all the athleticism, and she plays this game with just an incredible passion. It's so much fun to watch.
It's an all-Northwest final today. It's Stanford in Oregon. It's personal. It's next. The 2015 USA Ultimate College Championships are presented by Discraft Ultrastar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Ask your retailer for Discraft Ultrastar. The Women's Sports Foundation, ensuring equality and leadership opportunities for girls and women through sports. And the Girls Ultimate Movement, a strategic initiative designed to increase girls' participation in the sport of ultimate. Welcome back. Time to get down to business. Starting lineup for Superfly, Stanford. Halsey Hoster, one of the cutters. Courtney Gegg, her first season. Shayla Harris is a cutter. And Michaela Meister, who has been a star in the making in this tournament. The handlers, Stephanie Lim, Manisha White, and Caitlin Go. For Oregon, Jessie Schaffner, we've said a lot about her. We'll say more as we go along. Offer Heidi, Kaler, and Galvin, along with Young, Walhus, and Brunick, line up and round out the lineup. 30 to 35 mile-an-hour winds today, potentially. As we take a look at what you need to know, 7 players to a side. First team to 15 wins the title. Halftime is when a team reaches 8 goals. Disc can advance in any direction, and with this wind, it will. Player may not run with the disc, must pass the disc within 10 seconds. The game is self-officiated, and after each score, teams will switch ends. With this wind, anticipate a couple of things. Lots of turnovers, and Stanford, at the very least, will huck it and play defense.
It was interesting what Lou Burris, the Oregon coach, said to us before the game. When there's no wind, the goal is to not make offensive mistakes. When there is a lot of wind, that shifts, and you have to not make defensive mistakes. You need to play smart defense, react quickly in transition. In a game like this, similar to any game, you want your best players to touch the disc as often as possible. That means Haley Walrus is going to be really important today because she has taken over that center handler position, a role that she really moved into last year around this time when Jessie Schaffner got hurt in the semifinals, and Lou Burris was sort of forced to put the freshman who had played defense most of the year into that role. Now she's a sophomore. She's more than capable. I expect her to have a big game. If she does, Oregon might be celebrating in a couple hours.
All right, strap yourself in. Here we go. No turning back. The championship is underway. And Superfly gets the disc first.
This is not a true upwind, downwind, but This is a downwind point for Stanford.
And you saw the numbers listed at 16 miles per hour the wind, but it is anticipated to be up around the high 20s, low 30s potentially. And Lou Burris coached a game in which his Oregon team in the semifinals many years ago were part of a contest that had 162 turnovers, and they won.
It's a battle of attrition. Stanford's last national title won on a very windy day in Columbus, Ohio back in 2007. Jesse Schaffner's attempt at the air bounce backhand, it didn't pop back up. Meister quickly shoots it deep and out of the reach of the intended target, Halsey Hoster.
Well, Oregon had a chance there because it was able to break through the first line of defense and get nearly up to midfield, but once the disc hit the ground, it was a turnover.
We're going to be talking a lot about zone defense today. Stanford implementing this four-person cup. The wall of defenders around the handlers tries to prevent anything from going straight upfield. These are the swings that they're looking for.
And certainly at the same time, if you're the offense, you do not want to turn it over deep in your own territory, and that is the potential today with this win.
Oregon feels very good about its disc skills, though, and at this point, a great representation of that. This is textbook offense from Oregon.
This one on the fly, can it get there? Yes! Oregon scores first. Gabrielle off for Heidi. But we had to wait till the final second to get confirmation.
The observers took a little while there to confirm that, not sure why. Looked beautiful to me. I mean, this was a gorgeous array of tic-tac-toe down the field, slicing through the Stanford zone. And that is an opening point break. The sophomore, Gabby Ofter Heidi, just got her last foot inbounds for Fugue.
Yeah, one of the observers looked at the second one and got the confirmation. And you're required to have 1 foot in, right?
First point of contact, only need 1 foot.
So off the freeze, the right foot was down, the left foot is out, but that doesn't matter. 1-0 in favor of Oregon. Great start. And actually went the length of the field to do it.
Yeah, into this brisk wind. It's more of a crosswind than upwind, downwind, but it's coming diagonally across the field. Oregon had to persevere through the stiff breeze.
Stanford's turn to answer.
One thing Stanford won't do, Jim, is panic. They were down 3-0 against Washington in pool play. Easily came back to win that game. Down 5-3 yesterday in the semis. Came back in that as well. Of course, they have not played a team the caliber of Oregon yet this tournament.
Good defense by Rodolante, forcing the disc to be turned over to Oregon. And once again, going up against the zone.
You can see the 175-gram piece of plastic at Mother Nature's mercy.
Past midfield and caught. Stephanie Lim handling right now.
Interesting. Lim, not one of the taller players on the field, but one of the more skilled players, and it was her disc reading ability that enabled her to make that grab.
And now the disc floats harmlessly to the ground and back to Stanford, and you can't help but wonder if the wind already is playing its tricks out here. Stanford back and on the move. Lim to the end zone and a score.
What an addition Courtney Gegg has been for Superfly this year. Graduate student studying biology. Went to undergrad at UC Davis. She was a softball player in high school. She was a triathlete in college. That's the type of athlete she is. And at 6 feet tall, what an amazing veteran rookie, if that's a thing.
A veteran rookie, it's a good turn. Yeah, in fact, when you talk to the coaching staff, so impressed with her. I mean, she doesn't have the great experience at the game, but being a triathlete, you got to bring something to the party, I would think.
I doubt she gets tired very often.
No, sir.
In a tournament like this, that is huge, and she's literally huge. I mean, 6 feet tall. She's the only player north of 5'10", 5'11" in this game. An important response there for Stanford. They went 4-0 in pool play, coming from 3-0 down against University of Washington. Stanford just hammered Dartmouth in the 1 versus 2 seed pool game in that pool, surpassing Colorado Colley in the quarters and the ladies of Carleton Syzygy. Good tournament for them, advancing all the way to the semis again. Very different vibe from when they were in the finals 2 years ago. Very different team.
All right, let me do my own graphics work here, Evan, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Upwind goals 2, downwind goals nothing.
Yeah, it shows that, you know, the wind is strong, but it's not an impossible breeze. And it is more of a crosswind than it is the true upwind, downwind game.
Okay, back to the keys against the zone, and how do you attack it?
So you want to swing the disc quickly, good movement. Try to prevent that cup from getting set, especially when you're near the sideline. The wind is blowing from the far side of the field toward us, the near side of the field. So if you get caught trapped in this near sideline and have to try to throw it over the top into the wind, you're playing with fire.
Monisha White, Stephanie Lim play catch. That one up in the air, that one taken away by Oregon. Here's Alex Odie and Haley Walrus. Oregon quickly up to midfield, and Jessie Schaffner letting it fly and turned back over to Stanford.
And Monisha White is going to be very important for Stanford. She is the deep. Regardless of whether they're playing man or zone, they like to have her float back there and be that last line help defender. Only 5'7", but a great reader of the disc. Foul was called on the throw, so Oregon's track back down the field nullified by the previous stoppage.
These two teams saw each other during the regular season. And when you ask Lou Burris, coaching his final game at Oregon, what he thinks about Stanford and when they were going to play Carleton College, what he thought about that matchup, he said, I always root against Stanford.
He's a Carleton alum. He's been part of the Oregon scene for a long time. This is Lou Burris's 16th trip to college nationals as a player, as a coach of Carleton, now as a coach of the Oregon women. And he'll still be a very important voice in the sport, but this is his last year coaching. He has 3 kids, age 6, 8, and 10. There's nobody like Lou. His style, his perspective, incredible player, and he's turned into a really fascinating thinker.
And he has a 74-year-old father he'd like to spend more time with as well.
Sure, that's understandable.
Oregon across midfield in a 1-1 tie. To Schaffner. Oh.
You know, like any sport, this game can be humbling.
Right now, both teams are having trouble throwing and trouble managing the wind. But that's not surprising. Or does it have to do something with the fact we have a championship game?
I think it's more the wind and players dealing with it, and also give some credit to the defense. You know, it's not just the wind that they're going against. These are 2 of the best defenses in the country.
Weaver and Schaffner as they back up a few feet.
The length of this Stanford Cup is impressive. And they're doing a good job recovering to the swings, taking roundabout routes to try to cut off the upfield angle. That's an over-the-top throw. It worked out.
You see Gag, you see Lim on defense, and a score.
Yeah,
Stuck it over the zone.
Sometimes, Jim, that's all it takes. That one little over-the-top backhand. It's dangerous because a gust of wind can take this throw and do crazy things with it. But once that throw beats the cup, then it's just an odd person rush.
Angstad Leo with a toss to Weaver, and it is 2-1 in favor of Fugue.
These Oregon ladies have been strong for so many years now. They're going to be strong again next year. The last year for Ashley Young, Angela Toki, and Emily Liu. But pretty much everyone on the team should be back in 2016. Walrus will be just a junior. Bethany Kaler and Jessie Schaffner each have one more year. Oregon's most interesting pool play game was on the showcase field against Notre Dame. And the ladies of Notre Dame were actually undefeated coming into nationals. Undefeated but untested. They hadn't played the same caliber of competition. Notre Dame really was impressive to me in that game. They played with a swagger that you'd expect from a team that hasn't lost. It was 7-7 late in the first half. Oregon took the lead 8-7 at half and ended up winning the game, pulling away. But Oregon pretty much untested until the first half yesterday. And we thought, talking after the long day, that probably the most entertaining half of Ultimate in all four semifinals was the first half of that Oregon-British Columbia game.
Indeed.
Back and forth, nobody led by more than one through the first 12 scores.
Not many breaks in that first half, everybody being able to hold serve. By the way, with Weaver's goal, Evan, everybody from the Oregon side has scored this weekend.
Yeah, almost everybody has dished an assist, almost everybody has scored. We talked so much about Schaffner and Kaler and Odie and Walrus, but the second-tier stars, if you can call them that, are really first-tier caliber players in the landscape of the sport.
All four goals today, upwind. Rosemarie Sandino ties it for Stanford at 2.
Well, this was the quickest point yet. Stanford getting good disc movement. Not a whole lot of activity there from the Oregon defense. Nice shot over the top, outside in backhand. Today's a day when if you can, you want to use two hands on everything.
Sandino from San Lorenzo, California, sophomore human biology major, with her 9th goal this weekend. And the 4 goals all scored with the upwind today. And that's hardly any type of surprise. Women's Pool B, Stanford was the team to beat. Dartmouth came at second. Then Ohio State, Washington, and Middlebury all had rough pool plays.
I think the biggest surprise there is that University of Washington was eliminated by the point differential before pre-quarters. Kyle Weisbrod's team made it all the way to the semis last year, champions 2012.
Not a bad pull up against this wind here.
And it's all about perspective. You know, for Ohio State, they went 1-3, but they made it into pre-quarters by point differential. And for the defending champs, they really looked at that as an achievement as Stanford takes the lead for the first time.
Quick attack, Courtney Gang on the scoring end. 3-2 in favor of Superfly.
And this was a gorgeous shot from Michaela Meister. Just a turf flick. Slim quickly for Meister. Sees the angle. Perfect. Hope we get a look at Meister's celebration here because it was a good one.
I see her arms. We'll capture her from time to time today. Stanford back-to-back goals and now a 3-2 lead. Second score of the game for Gegg. 15th this weekend. Game back now on serve with the first downwind goal this afternoon.
You know, the story for Stanford throughout the season and throughout this weekend has been their maturity as a team and their ability to see the openings down the field. One of the other coaches in the women's division told me that it's like watching a club team from a field vision perspective. These two teams, of course, met in the finals at Stanford Invite. Ended up being a close game. Oregon jumped out to a lead. Stanford came back, tied it up late. You watch the film of that game, Oregon was really able to hurt Stanford with its quick handler movement. You know, Schaffner and Walrus and Kaler throws them in a little bit off so far, and the wind and the cut make that handler movement more difficult because the handlers aren't cutting as much as they are throwing quickly.
Good layout by Bethany Kaler moments ago to continue to keep the disc in the hands of Oregon. Up against the Stanford zone that they're going to see practically the entire game, although Superfly capable of changing up, but right now this will be the plan with the wind.
Like most every Ultimate player would say, it's much more fun playing Ultimate when it's man-to-man defense compared to zone. It's just a very different game when you're playing zone, but as an offense, working against it, you need to stay calm, you need to stay patient, and this is the challenge that's in front of you. Oh, Schaffner got lucky because that disc popped right through her hands, and Stanford, Shayla Harris was nearby, but couldn't haul it in. Kaler helped out.
Jesse Schaffner with 4 turnovers in this game so far. Oregon with the disc. Haley Walrus, 27 handling moments ago, and now Schaffner. Working toward the far side of the field in a 3-2 game first half. Men's national finals coming up 3:30 Eastern. Oregon and North Carolina.
Yeah, go back to 1992. Both Oregon teams made the finals as well. Oregon women losing to UNCW that year. The Oregon men won, beating Cornell.
Lou Burris told a story today with the 162 turnovers in the Oregon-Michigan game in the tournament a few years ago that one individual player had 35.
Yeah, and I'll take Sophie Darch on my team any game if I'm picking a roster. She's got incredible throws. She's tough. She's fierce. She's on the sideline supporting Oregon today. So,
and I think the most important thing, which bears repeating, Oregon won the game.
Yeah, and you know, good throwers aren't afraid to have turnovers, especially on a day like this. You know, usually the best throwers lead their team in turnovers for the simple reason of usage rate.
The turnovers we have seen against this wind, Evan, what is the wind doing to the disc?
It just makes you pay the price for a throw that's not perfect in terms of release, in terms of tight rotation. If you put too much air under the disc and it stays up longer, the wind has more of a chance to gust and render it incomplete.
Stanford with the pick or with the interception and the short field, unable to capitalize. Tom Crawford, the CEO of USA Ultimate, will join us shortly.
That was a heck of a layout bid by Schaffner there to keep that alive in the end zone. And all of a sudden, Oregon's got numbers downfield.
3 against 2, but Stanford gets back in time, or at least for the moment. Let's see. Still a good chance to score here, and on the layout, unable to happen. Back to Stanford.
That would have been a storybook point if Bartriff could have hauled it in from one end zone to the other. Bartriff so close. The other end of the field, Schaffner juggled the disc and then made the sensational layout to keep it alive. Now Oregon starts with disc in Stanford side of the field. It's a tough catch by Walrus. That disc was falling fast, and that's good zone defense. This cup's been really impressive, led by Shayla Harris, Steph Lim, Jennifer Thompson's been prominently involved, and both teams are just struggling right now to capitalize on the good defense.
When the disc has hit the ground, it doesn't stop rolling either because of this gust. Well, this game probably going according to form based on the fact that the wind gusts have been strong so far today, and neither team able to handle the disc as well as possible. We invite CEO Dr. Tom Crawford of USA Ultimate before we get into some of the partnerships. What about this game so far?
I think it's really exciting. I think phenomenal athletes, a little windy, obviously. But two teams that can definitely make the adjustments to play well.
Oregon just made its adjustment, and scoring the goal is Olivia Bartroff. Another look.
You saw the tight dump to Schaffner. Walrus really doing a good job of flicking that wrist to get that extra revolutions on the disc. Look at her release. It's a quick little flip. And Schaffner with a vision to find Bartroff in the end zone. Well, Tom, you picked a place to have nationals which had a little bit of everything. We had sunshine, we had rain, we had wind. Like the White Walkers might show up tomorrow if we're still playing. Milwaukee this year, Raleigh next year, right?
That's right. Yep. Both very similar venues, and we've had a great experience here.
You know, you walk around here as we did on Saturday to try to catch as much competition as we could, and to see the fields filled with fans and the stadium filled. Surprise you at all?
Oh no, not for this event. We get great crowds. I mean, this is really a fun event because not only do a bunch of the kids from the schools come out to support their teammates and schoolmates, but also the parents get a bunch of families here. So we love the crowds we get.
You are forming some pretty significant partnerships. Let's speak to that, if you will.
Sure. Yeah. No. One of the most exciting ones we just announced a couple of days ago was with the Women's Sports Foundation. Very excited about this. It's a big initiative of ours to get as many girls playing this sport as possible, so that we end up with phenomenal athletes like we're watching right now. And the Women's Sports Foundation partnership is going to expose our sport to literally millions of kids around the country. So it's going to be very exciting.
How did that begin? Did you reach out to them?
It did. Yep, we have been working on this actually for a little while to try to get them to understand what a special sport we have and how perfectly suited for girls it is, and the community that we have, the sport that we have, the spirit of the game, and many of the other elements that are baked in are very appealing to girls, and they are very fired up now about Ultimate.
Please explain GUM to us, G-U-M.
Yeah, the girls' Ultimate movement. It sticks to you, it sticks to me. And it's a really, really cool program with some incredibly smart, passionate women behind it. And again, the goal is, in a pretty sophisticated way, to get more and more girls playing the sport, but also teach them a lot of important life lessons by their involvement in Ultimate. And that's one of the programs that we'll be partnering with the Women's Sports Foundation on. We're actually going to have a Go Girl Go Ultimate program.
Terrific catch by Offer Heidi to keep the disc in the hands of Oregon in a 3-3 tie. Dr. Tom Crawford, the CEO of USA Ultimate, is visiting with us here at the stadium, Eline Soccer Park in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, as that one gets up in the jet stream and gets turned over. The growth of USA Ultimate at this point, are you pleased?
Yes. No, I mean, I'd always like for it to be bigger and growing faster, but very pleased. I mean, we are right now, so far this year, we're growing over 20%. And there's many other sports that are actually fading a little bit, and some that are, 1, 2, 3%. We're over 20%, so we're very happy. Yep.
Anything in particular that's contributed to 20% growth?
It's mostly happening in the youth division, which was a very specific strategy that we set out to achieve, was to get the sport exposed to lots and lots of kids, because we know that once they play it, they're going to love it, they're going to have a blast, and they're going to want to keep playing it. And so that's the division that's growing the fastest.
This is Field Marsham laying out and scoring for Stanford.
She's had so reliable hands all tournament long. The soccer background, she's just a freshman, but she never stops running, and Stanford made some really good catches throughout this point. 2 hands on the disc, getting good rotation on the throw, and this one was not an easy catch But into the slide, Field Marsham put Stanford back in front.
You're two different groups, but since Evan dabbles on the pro level, I want to ask you about that you try to maintain conversations and I suppose try to, if anything, try to influence the pro game to model the college game if it's possible.
If we could, we would. We have had many conversations, and we would love to see them play the sport following the same rules that we have, because we believe that, well, one of the things that's really appealing, for example, to the United States Olympic Committee right now is that we are different and not the same as all other sports. And part of that is that we are self-officiated, and the value of spirit of the game is very intriguing to them and to the International Olympic Committee. Very important to us. So if there was, you know, something that we'd like to see change, that would be it.
Is this an Olympic sport?
Yeah, yeah. Soon.
How far down the line?
A little bit careful here not to be too aggressive, but I'm very optimistic right now based on some recent meetings that we had. We're working very closely with our international federation, and that's key because we've got to get up to 75 countries with really viable programs going.
And you're close to 60 now, is
yes,
that right?
Yeah, well, actually, we're over 60 now. There's been a few that just joined. So we're making really steady progress. We've got a good plan in place with WIFDF, our international federation. And I'm actually very optimistic based on the receptions that we've been receiving. And again, it's the appeal of the sort of the unique nature of Ultimate. And one of the things that they're very intrigued with is our mixed gender division, which we don't have here at college, but we do have at the next level. And that's very intriguing to them. You know, our very best teams are the teams that we send to the World Games. That's a mixed gender team. So we're already playing at the highest level with mixed gender teams. That's a big part of the IOC reforms that they just came out with. They're very interested in that.
Dr. Tom Hamilton, CEO, USA Ultimate. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes.
Really appreciate it. You guys are doing awesome, by the way.
Thank
it's
you.
Really
we appreciate that.
Tom, before you go, real quick, Beach World Championships this past March in Dubai. I was lucky enough to be there. Thought it was a really cool event. You think we have a better chance getting Beach Ultimate into the Olympics first?
Could be. Could be. We just had our first national championships. It went really, really well. We're going to start committing more resources to that, build that program out. And I think there's definitely appeal to that because of the, you know, already beach volleyball is incredibly popular. And to have another sport happening in the same or similar venue, I think would be very appealing. So
Jesse Schaffner comes up with a really good D right there. And what were the beach national championships of USA Ultimate like? The very first one. I'm sure there's some things that you'd like to tweak, but what went well? What are you looking to tweak?
Well, we ended up at a great venue, which was really helpful. The athletes had a phenomenal time. We've had more positive feedback about that particular event probably than any other event we've done in 5 years. They had a really good competitive experience. The venue was really good. The vibe is just super cool. It's you know, you're on the beach, you're playing very athletic and fun Ultimate. We had multiple age groups. We had huge crowds because we were right on a boardwalk, which was what made it really, really interesting. And everybody was just stopping and saying, I've never seen this before. This is really fun. And that's one of the reasons I think beach has such potential is the venues are just built for all kinds of people to see the sport for the first time.
That was my first time ever broadcasting barefoot. It was pretty incredible.
Yeah. And boy, our teams did great at the World Championships. We were really proud of them.
6 gold medals in 7 divisions with
Yep.
1 bronze. It was
Yep.
a spectacular week in Dubai, as most weeks in Dubai are.
Had a couple of fine defensive plays at the goal line as this score remains 4-3. We played almost 35 minutes here today, but with a strong gust from time to time, more often than not, scoring has been limited. Most of the goals have been upwind. Dr. Tom, come back anytime and see us, would you?
I will, and thanks again for having me.
Real pleasure.
Okay, see you guys.
This one's up in the stream for a moment. Well, how about that? The potential of Olympic sports.
Very
with
exciting.
Ultimate, yes. Mentioning that 75 seems to be the magic number, and there are over 60 countries right now that play Ultimate and Beach Ultimate.
One of my coolest experiences, Jim, in Dubai was attending a Rise Up clinic led by 2 of the game's great leaders, Mario O'Brien and Rory Titcomb, and it was basically a collection of 30 different players from about 20 countries around the world, the leaders of the ultimate establishment in their countries, where the ultimate establishment might be tiny. It might be 75 to 150 people in the entire country. But talking about things like culture and coaching and preparation and just establishing sort of the foundation that, you know, we here in the US and in Canada have been working on for 35, 45 years.
Amanda Sanvele scores for Oregon, and that ties the score again at 4. A nice job of getting numbers, and once they got numbers and field position, not a problem to score at the middle of the goal. And again, it's off a turnover.
Both these teams really settling in right now and starting to get a little more comfortable throwing in this wind. You see, she's in no rush to release the disc. Oregon's spacing against Stanford's zone defense has been really special. And that's the coaching of Lou Burris and the Oregon assistants, Catherine Weatherhead, Danielle Hirsch. And it's the on-field IQ of their top players.
Sure.
And their ability, you know, to not make it like a youth soccer game with everybody getting bunched up. You stay on the far side of the field and you have that dump, it's really tough to defend, especially when you have that 4-person cup. You space well downfield, you're going to be really tough to guard if you have the throwers to get it there. And Oregon showing gradually as they get more comfortable with the win that they do.
You witnessed the numbers earlier by way of the graphic of Olivia Bartruff, who is the leading goal scorer this weekend with 19. And in the red zone today, pretty good efficiency so far for Oregon, 4 of 8. The men's national championship to follow with another Oregon team against North Carolina. And some previous and past Callahan winners getting together in that second matchup this afternoon.
It'll be the second time in USA Ultimate history as Stanford juggles and the catch falls incomplete. Second time in USAU history that a men's title game will feature 2 Callahan Award winners on the opposite teams. Back in 2005, Brown's Josh Zipperstein got the better of Colorado's Josh Ackley as Mama Bird went for the repeat. Brownie in motion got the win. This year, Dylan Freechild for Oregon, the 2013 Callahan Award winner against North Carolina's Jonathan Nethercutt. Game will not lack star power.
No, if you haven't witnessed Freechild or Nethercutt, come join us at 3:30 Eastern time today. Could be a terrific final, and the conditions that are present in this game likely to be present in those as well. What's interesting is the weather got so cool yesterday, low to mid 50s and lots of wind and a driving rain, that when you showed up today, temperatures were above 15 degrees up to 70.
What a catch by Gegg. 1-on-2, she went to the disc, attacked it in the air. They might look for her again in the end zone here.
Stanford trying to gain the lead. You saw Meister moments ago. Here's a scoring opportunity, and they convert off the pass from Stephanie Lim.
Well, there are a number of factors that went well to allow Stanford to score here. This was a good flick from Monisha White. Just gave Gegg a chance to make the play and sandwich between the ducks. She did. Reset in no hurry. Talked about it yesterday, the great John Wooden quote, be quick, but don't hurry. And then Stephanie Lim, you always want the disc in her hands around the goal line if you're Stanford. Caitlin Go found the space and made sure she put 2 hands on that spinning disc in the end zone.
And Evan, now Stanford 3 for 4 in the red zone, and you are correct. Things are starting to be a little more effective on both sides of the offense. Yeah, Caitlin Go now 13th goal this weekend.
This is the type of game, it wouldn't surprise you if there aren't that many red zone opportunities, because you're looking for a lot of deep shots in the wind. Red zone conversion rate is gigantic. With the wind, you take care of the disc around the goal line, able to punch it in. It's not a gimme. I mean, 3 of 4 in the red zone in this breeze, pretty darn good.
Yeah. In fact, some of the short dump-offs today and crossfield passes, which haven't had a great deal of distance to them, have been at times the most difficult to handle. we saw a lot of that during warm-up today when we were down on the turf. Here's Jesse Schafter, and Lou Burris says, you know, I don't like to single out players. I know that Schafter is our key, but we've got a lot of no-name people, particularly on defense, that play a limited amount of minutes that without their play, we're not here.
A little too casual from Haley Walrus there. She's so talented, has such great skills, but that one-handed grab didn't work out.
Stanford Superfly leading Oregon Fugue 5-4 first half. First team to 8. And we will have halftime.
We're basically on serve right now, but Stanford looking for its first 2-score lead. Defended there by Ashley Young.
And Young quickly with the disc up to midfield. Back to Jesse Schafter. Scoring opportunity for Oregon. Odie.
Walrus on the doorstep, not in yet though. Swing the disc here, Oregon.
Back to Odie, who will set the offense. And across for Schafter, and that is nowhere near her.
The handler defense from Rosemarie Sandino forced that throw to go awry. She took away the easy dump option, opened up that little gap to go cross field to Schaffner, but that's a much tougher throw through a small crevice of a space.
So that's what you want to force, is that cross field throw then, right?
It makes it much more difficult.
Tough throw there and broken up by Weaver. Short field for Oregon to work with, but unable to convert.
And Schaffner had Olivia Bartriff open on the far side of the field. Did not see her.
So with the turnover, it remains 5-4 Stanford. Oregon, though, back with the disc.
And this feels like Oregon's point, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Schafter at times with this wins at a rough afternoon. But she is still very likely the most dangerous player out here. Weaver working far side of the field right now with Walrus. Headed for Schafter, can't get to it.
It's interesting, we talked to Jessie after the game yesterday, and she acknowledged that she was really nervous before the game. She called her older brother Markham, who's won a Division III national championship at the college level, USAU. Asked him for some advice. Basically just said to enjoy it. Settle down, relax, have fun.
Somebody has been there makes a world of difference. Reminds me though of an old-time baseball story. As we watch Oregon on offense and Schafter, and we'll get to it in a moment.
That's the shot.
Yes, sir. Lillian Weaver for the score for Oregon. And we tie again, this time at 5.
Stanford was having trouble offensively going into the win this point. They never could get anything going, even though Oregon made mistakes, provided ample opportunity. And you can see Schaffner just being a smidge more patient. Looked to the right, it wasn't there, saw the opening on the left, and put it perfectly.
Anyway, you mentioned Schaffner going to get advice from her brother. Baseball story, possibly unrelated, but somebody went to Pete Rose many years ago when he played and said, look, Pete, I'm in a slump. I'm 0 for 27. I need all the help I can get. And Pete's response is, what do you come to me for? I've never had this problem.
I guess that's right. Although he was a manager, so he should have been able to.
Yeah, this was as a player. But in the case of Jesse Schafter, who has assisted at 3 of the 5 goals today, getting advice and counsel from her brother to enjoy and relax, well, that certainly helps out here. And you know that she's going to be a significant part of Oregon's chances of winning today the national title.
Great coaching is so much about communication and sometimes having the experiences to relay to other people, but more often than not, it's having an analytical, smart, strategic mind and the ability to communicate and inspire young players. I don't think Lou Burris is a great coach because of what he did with Seattle Sockeye. maybe some of the lessons he learned from his elders that he was able to pass along to these girls were invaluable, and those experiences much more important than their great games against Furious George.
Well, Lou Burris did offer you the opportunity to go down memory lane when he retires and sit through an afternoon or an evening if it's necessary and go back through all the championships.
I was joking with him and said, I wish I had a time machine to, go visit every single college nationals and see it all unfold. And he basically said, buy me enough beer and I'll take you there.
A huck downfield and taken away. Stephanie Lim had a great line too. We were trying to search information as to which teams had played in a particular final many years ago, and she went right to her coach. She says, "She's steel trap here. He's got the memory," and he knew. In fact, it was the year that both Oregon groups were in, and I think that was in the low 90s, early 90s. Men's won it, women did not.
1992.
Here it's 5-5, and the Oregon men follow this game against North Carolina, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, right here on ESPN3. Jim Barber and Evan Lepler, the voice of Ultimate. The long lead, it's a beauty. They score! Emily Lou, and Oregon regains the lead.
Emily Lou, her first year on the team. It's also her last year on the team. Senior geology major from San Mateo, California. And the story of this is not the catch, it's the throw. What a shot.
Beauty.
Gorgeous backhand to space. Bethany Kaler. Picture perfect.
You chatted with Miss Kaler prior to the game. She seemed pretty comfortable about today.
Yeah, I mean, I remember her last year. She was in a boot, riding around in a scooter in her hometown, no less. She couldn't play in her hometown of Cincinnati. But Kaler, the Oregon Callahan nominee, also chatting with the 2013 Oregon Callahan nominee, Bailey Zahnizer, who, as of a week ago, wasn't planning on coming to nationals, had work to do, and more, she's like, I just can't imagine not being here. Like 5-6 days ago, she booked a flight. There's Sophie Darch in the tank top, the credential and the ponytail. Callahan nominee for Oregon last year. A lot of great players have come through this program. Tina Snodgrass in the late aughts, phenomenal.
Lou Burris as a head coach and as a player, different breed of cat. So let's discuss while we have a moment what's going to be missed when he's not going to be on the sidelines next year.
That's a great question, and I don't think it can really be accurately described how big of a loss it'll be. Now, he acknowledges, and the players say he did not do as much this year as he's done in the past, and the players have taken more and more responsibility. But there's no question having him as the CEO of this program is the voice, and I'm sure he'll still be available as a sounding board. But the calming words that he brings during the timeout, the little strategic intricacies that he provides, can't be replaced.
And his successor will be?
Well, they're not sure yet. The assistant coaches, Catherine Weatherhead, Danielle Hirsch, certainly great candidates, but not necessarily local options. One thing Oregon does from their leadership standpoint to build the year-to-year excellence of culture is just assign young players different responsibilities. So the captains have their jobs, but it's not just a captain-led team. It's an incredible group. Lou Burris was saying before the game that Angela Toki has been the primary logistics coordinator for the past 2 years. She could have done it this year, done a great job and managed the budget and booked the flights and planned the hotel rooms, but instead, they passed that responsibility onto Hope Zima. Just a sophomore, she was able to learn from the elder. And next year, a younger player will sort of take that role as an apprentice. And it's those types of things, giving responsibility to younger players that make them take ownership. And I think there are a lot of teams out there, and I think I went through this as well. You don't realize when you're a junior and a senior how important it is to indoctrinate the young kids on the leadership style that you want. Sometimes you're so focused on winning that you forget about development.
Stanford, very short field to work with off the turnover and an easy conversion to Halsey Hoster. And with that score, we have yet another tie, which is our 6th.
We've got a tie, we've got some raindrops falling, an ominous cloud brewing overhead. Stanford taking its time around the end zone. Where was the defense?
Remember, the Oregon staff said the one thing we do not want to do is mess around with the disc deep in our own territory. And off that quick turn, Stanford able to convert, an Oregon mistake. Hoster her 5th goal this weekend, her first today, and we are tied again. In a first half that, because of all the stoppages, has been lengthy.
And you can tell from Halsey Hoster's jersey, the wind has reached a new height.
Yeah. This is for the national championship of USA Ultimate. Stanford 6, Oregon 6. These two teams were winners yesterday very comfortably. We'll look at the wind that began at 16 miles per hour, but I would imagine as this day goes along, that'll be bumped up.
Well, people were talking about it yesterday. We knew it was coming.
Yeah, the general response has been, welcome to the Midwest. Man, how about that, that pull?
Great pull. She starts from the back of the end zone.
Good chance for the Stanford defense to try to force a mistake. It almost happened there. Oregon not out of trouble yet, though. Disc up in the air, and somehow, wherever the Fugue is getting out of trouble.
Not the intended target there, but Rachel Hershey able to make that catch.
Now Fugue up to midfield. If you're going to do a turnover, that's the place to do it.
They gain about 60 yards from the back of the end zone. Oh, and a low huck blocked down by Schaffner. She'll air it out. She wants Hershey. What a throw.
Can she get it? No. Well, we have a call. And we have a foul.
Did Hershey stop rotation of the disc? I think she did. I think if I'm the observer, I declare this a goal.
Really? It's not a matter of catching and coming down with possession
If
in
she
this sport,
stops
right?
rotation of the disc in her hands and the defender hits the disc out of her hands, that's a strip, that's a foul, that's a goal.
Julie Morris, Greg Connolly, Jonna Haymaker, and Laura Meyer are our observers.
Or are you going to keep it contest and send it back? You decide, or I'm going to roll. So you're going to keep it foul contest and send it back? Okay, foul contest goes back.
So the observer will not have to rule here.
Yeah, I wish we could know what she would have said.
Where's the disc? Is it
that, right? She has rotation stop there.
Boy, I don't know. You think she does?
What's your stall at?
I don't think she has the disc 100% secured, but I think you can't say she wouldn't have caught that. And you can't knock the disc out of a player's hands when they have possession.
Right. Instead, there is no ruling. Disc back in the hands of Oregon. We remain tied at 6. That one very low to the ground,
but
and a tough layout.
But to your implication, Jim, I think Hershey was okay sending it back because she also probably realized that she had work to do to make that catch.
Sure.
And maybe the observer would have said that, although I think the observer would have called it a goal.
That one hangs up in the air and is swatted away.
Tasha Field-Marsham, freshman from Toronto. having a heck of a game in her first college championship opportunity.
Well, you're right. In addition to the win, we have seen some fine defensive plays.
And as we said at the top, you know, when there's no win, it's about avoiding offensive mistakes. When there is win, it's about avoiding defensive mistakes. Because the offensive mistakes, in large part, you can't do much about them. And it's an interesting change of mentality.
Weaver with the layout, able to keep the possession going. First team to 8. We will reach halftime. The first half that is now taking close to 55 minutes.
Unlike years past, there is no hard cap in the championship game. Now, there's still a soft cap. We're about 34 minutes from the soft cap, and once that goes on, you'll add 2 to the highest team score, and that's the new number that you're playing to. So if it's 9 to 8 when the soft cap goes on, it'll obviously be a game to 11 instead of 15. But unlike years past, if the hard cap went off, the game would be over, and the losing team might score to get back within 1 and then not have another chance. That's gone, and I think that's a great rule change that USA Ultimate adapted this year.
Yeah, agreed. Oregon deep in its own territory. The game that has seen 6 ties already in the first half. There has been little or no separation between these 2 teams to this point. And that's probably what you expect in a championship game between the 2 best.
Ooh, Schaffner threw it right to Meister.
Another turnover for Jesse Schaffner. But Superfly sends it to the ground, and Oregon back with a disc. It's Haley Walrus, 27. Good layout by Kaler. Now to midfield, and that just floats. Got a chance here, and that one is still going. All the way to downtown Milwaukee. Hey, good catch over there, though.
What's amazing is she wasn't even watching the game. I'm not sure what she was doing over there.
She's getting a high five, and somebody probably said, hey, turn around.
Sign her up.
Look at this.
There's so much talent in Milwaukee that didn't even make it into the quarterfinals.
So both on the field and off the field.
Yeah.
Right? We stay tied.
Oh.
2 Superfly in the way of the disc there. Neither comes up with it. You know, even though it's not a clean game, it certainly is entertaining because of the weather.
Yeah. I mean, the stakes, the familiarity of these 2 teams, the talent on both sides, the fact that neither team has led by more than 1 so far.
Yes. And they're most familiar with each other. There is a very key takeaway. Short field to work with and taken back.
Jesse Schaffner did a great job D'ing that one up. Field Marsham intercepts the deep shot.
Another opportunity starting at midfield for Stanford.
Heck of an inside out flick to the end zone.
Well done.
Bookends for Field Marsham.
And a Stanford lead is 7-6.
Schaffner made the great D in the end zone, put it up deep, but Field Marsham outrun Bartra for the disc. Field Marsham gets it to a handler. Michaela Meister. Beautiful inside out flick for Lim. And by that point, Field Marsham has beaten her defender downfield. This is why this game is so great. You play defense, you immediately transition to offense. Endurance is so invaluable. And Field Marsham, the former soccer player, endless energy. That point belonged to her.
Yes. Stanford takes a timeout, second of the first half. 2 is the limit. So So another lead change, and now Stanford in front, 1 goal away from leading us to halftime.
Lim, another assist for Superfly. Now, throughout the tournament, a few teams have stood out. Obviously, these two. Virginia also went undefeated in pool play. Suffered a tough bout of food poisoning and lost a few of their key players for their quarterfinal game, lost to British Columbia. It was cool to see the defending champs, despite only 4 returning contributors from last year, advance. And obviously, perhaps the biggest storyline of the tournament in terms of injury, Mira Donaldson, who was just lighting it up for the Thunderbirds in pool play, hurt her shoulder in the final pool play game against Carleton. They won without her in the quarters. It was a storybook type effort, but unfortunately, real life caught up with them. Life is not a sports movie, Jim Barber.
Those championships, as you know, for the women belong to Stanford. And Evan highlighted that at the beginning of the broadcast with 2 three-peats in there, 2 consecutive runs of 3 championships. In this game, for the title, there have been 4 lead changes, 6 ties. Oregon men follow the Oregon women later this afternoon, and the first time since the early 90s that both Oregon men and women have played for a title.
Robin Davis, a sophomore rookie on the 1999 team, the last year of their first three-peat, now in her 14th season coaching Superfly. Still plans to keep coaching even though she's got 2 young kids, Harrison and 5-month-old Huck, who's here.
Name, huh?
Huck was born the day after Christmas. She was back coaching at practice in January.
Huck's a cutie too. We saw him prior to the game. Good layout there. Stanford continues to control the disc. Leading in this game 7-6. Now a turnover in the shorter side of the field to Oregon.
Great coaching staff for Stanford. Jamie Newer, Jenny Wang, Robin Davis. They've all been part of some great teams, both in college and club. An important score here for Oregon.
It was Young to Kaler to Bartroff.
We'll now have a point to take half.
And for Olivia Bartroff, her 20th goal of this weekend. She is the goal leader among all.
And aside from the Schaffner, Kaler, Walrus, Odie quartet, you have to talk a lot about Olivia Bartroff because she's just been so super steady. They count on her around the end zone. She's sure-handed. And like all these Oregon players, they've got a great theory behind their cuts. They make smart, intelligent cuts. She's the leading goal scorer in the entire tournament.
Her 20th, as mentioned, and a big one because it forces yet another tie at 7. 7 goals apiece, 7 ties first half.
Bartroff in her 3rd year with the team. They expect to have her back as well. She's played club for Portland Schwab. You see the wind rippling the dress shirt of Lou Burris.
Earlier today, Lou, one of the more colorful figures in this sport, with out shoes, without sandals, without socks, just enjoying feet on turf.
Sure. And despite the casualness, he's got the green pants, he's got duck cufflinks.
You pointed that out to a number of people today.
Well, that's stylish, I think, from his grandfather.
Yeah.
I said, did your grandfather go to Oregon? He said, no, he was just a dandy.
I think it made his outfit, don't you think?
Tied everything together.
Yep, the other day he had the green bow tie on for the semifinals. Next point, and we get to halftime. Here's a chance.
Intercepted. Big defensive play there by Young.
Young trying to get up, and intended for Alex Odie. So Stanford will pick up the disc. In Oregon territory, and a chance to take us to halftime.
What kind of throw is that?
Look at this. There are a lot of bodies around this one.
You gotta be kidding me.
Score!
Caitlin Go off the deflection, made the catch, quick flip to the end zone. I guarantee you that is not how any of the Superfly coaches drew it up.
It's like one of those Hail Marys you see at the end of an NFL game.
Yeah. She was trying for an inside-out flick, and I guess that's what it was. Couple different Oregon players got hands on it, and from her knees, Caitlin Go hit Natasha Field-Marsham to take half 8-7. Wow.
Stanford finishing the first half 4 for 6 in the red zone, and probably the most exciting and dramatic point is this one right here to end the first half.
This is not how she meant to throw it. There's no question about it, but she'll still get credit for the assist.
Well, you can get one up in the jet stream today. Just about anything can happen. And right there it did. So in the game for the national championship, Stanford 8, Oregon 7 at halftime. We will get a chance to talk to Jamie Newer here just in a matter of minutes, the fine head coach of Stanford Superfly. What a first half. It has not lacked for moments. All right, looks like Coach Newer is aboard. Jamie, welcome to the broadcast. Jim Barber and Evan Lepler. If you would, tell us that last play. Is that what you work on all the time?
Absolutely. We practice that every practice.
Please describe it for us if you possibly can.
Sure. Monisha White put up a big throw. You know, we've been looking deep to tall receivers like Courtney. And so, you know, when the disc goes up, we just try to grab it no matter what. You know, sometimes you have to play scrappy ultimate, especially when like this.
What had the conditions been like for your team on the field in the first half?
You know, they've been quite windy, probably 15, 25 miles an hour ballpark, and mostly blowing either downwind or crosswind. So pretty windy down here, not much rain. But, you know, it's the same experience that we've had throughout the tournament. We've had some windy games as well.
What will the conversation be like? Any strategic changes in the second half?
Yeah, you know, I think I'd like to try to have us work it more on offense. You know, it's mostly just been things like you just saw for our scores, and so I'd like to see us play a little bit tighter and get our passes more smooth. To
this point, Jamie, 4 for 12 on hucks, 4 for 6 in the red zone. Either of those statistics surprise you?
Not at all. I mean, it's definitely super windy down here, and we are definitely trying to put it when we're going downwind.
Jamie Newer, head coach of Stanford, thank you. Good luck the second half.
Appreciate it, thanks.
8-7 Stanford at the break, and we'll step aside here. This is the USA Ultimate College Championship, the women's final. Jim Barber, Evan Lepler. The sun is gracing us today with its presence, along with a very strong wind, warm temperatures, and Evan in the first half, I think, a most entertaining game as we recap the scoring here, which has been spread out among a number of people, including Bartra for Oregon with 3 and Gegg and Go and Field-Marsham with 2.
Biggest surprise is probably not seeing Michaela Meister's name on there.
Yes.
Not to mean she hasn't been a key factor in the game. She has a couple assists. She's been a key initiation cutter. But Stanford basically has just been shooting it deep. And we heard Jamie Newer say they want to take it a little more slowly, try to maintain possession of the disc a little bit more going forward.
Let's go back to the first half highlights. Anything surprise you?
And we expected it to be a compelling game, and it has been. I think some of Oregon's deep shots have been right on the money. Some of Stanford's deep shots have been more contested, but gals like Gegg, Field-Marsham, and Go have come up with these sensational catches to help Superfly take half. Caitlin Go has been really, really solid. Both teams have tried the zone defense. It's been pretty successful. But these are teams that have the throws to beat it.
And after a slow start offensively, I think both teams started to get a little bit more in a groove.
Yeah, the wind is, you know, fluctuated from very intense to just slightly more than a thrower's wind, but it's gusty, and it's something that you really can't always prepare for. You just try to, you know, get the throws as tight as you can possibly can, and you need to play with patience and a good mentality about you, because sometimes things aren't going to work out. You got to move on to the next throw.
We've had a few turnovers in this game so far in short fields that have resulted in scores, and at the end of the first half, the great and dramatic play by Stanford that Coach Newer says Well, we practice every moment we possibly can.
Every day. They'll remember that one for a long time. It could be the difference. We're only 16 minutes away from soft cap.
Yes, sir. Good point. Time to step aside. Stanford 8, Oregon 7, live from Eli Park in Milwaukee. Lou Burris, coaching his final game at the University of Oregon, has his team in a dogfight today with Stanford trailing 8-7 at halftime. Nice enough to join us here before we start the second half. Lou, let's go back to the first half. And what did you think that were the biggest factors that you had to deal with here?
It's a little windy out here today. That's probably the biggest thing.
How do you feel your team's handled the win so far?
Not particularly well. We've been a little casual in terms of picking spots to play D and probably throwing a few more passes than we should.
Do you feel like you need to raise the intensity a little bit? Is that the problem?
It's more about picking the moments, knowing when to take a shot, when to be conservative, when to play crazy D, and when to lay off.
You still feel the team is really loose at halftime, or they're a little nerves with the fact that you're trailing in a championship game?
It's just exactly like our semifinal game. This is just about pressure, and both teams are going to keep bringing pressure until we get to the end.
Lou, do you have any type of changes in terms of philosophy here in the second half on defense?
We're just going to we're going to keep chipping away and make those adjustments point by point.
And what were your conversations like to the women here at the end of the first half?
Just keep fighting.
We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, Lou Burris, our special guest here at halftime. Oregon is already out on the field, and Superfly of Stanford started to make its appearance as well. Stick around, the second half coming up. About to restart our second half of our championship game, the final between 1 seed Oregon, 2 seed Stanford. Yesterday, Oregon beat British Columbia 15-9, and Stanford handled Carleton College 15-8. So when they put the seeding together for the 20 teams into the national finals, they got it right. They were 2 that we are seeing for the championship. For the men, the biggest surprise is Oregon, seeded 15, and seeded 15 because of difficulties in the regionals. They'll face number 3 North Carolina about 3:30 this afternoon Eastern time. Hope you're with us on ESPN3 for the men's championship game.
I think the public opinion is very split about that Oregon-North Carolina game. Just, asking people around the facility before the women's game, who you got, dark side or ego, and it was maybe a couple more people for Carolina, but more than I thought for Oregon. And I think Oregon can do some things that will change the way UNC's been used to playing. I mean, Oregon with their handler movement is unique. So it could be an Oregon day. It could be disappointment in Eugene on both sides. We got 3 more halves of ultimate to cap off this incredible weekend in Milwaukee.
Oregon in its basic and standard green uniforms, green tops, white shorts. Stanford with the white trimmed with a bit of red and gray. And we know this much. We'll have a champion again from the northwest part of the country, which Ohio State rudely interrupted last year with its title of its own.
And first non-West Coast or Pacific Northwest team to win the women's title since Georgia did it in 2001. Championship heading back to the West Coast.
Stanford set the pull, Oregon to receive. Good look at Hope Zima moments ago, and that Stanford team, this just seemed too uptight to me.
Yeah, they really should just calm down,
Yeah.
relax, just have some fun.
Yeah.
Dance a little bit.
Understand too that occasionally one of the non-playing members will send out some tweets just to update their fan base on what's happening in the game.
Stanford, the ladies of ultimate funk. They have made that their personality all season long.
Pretty good video to go with it. I understand.
Absolutely. Michelle McGee, the star of Ultimate Funk.
Toward the middle and back against the Stanford zone, and now shooting deep left corner.
Too far.
On a normal day with no wind, where does the disc land on a play like that?
Probably not that far. It's, you know, the wind changes everything, and, you know, winds are similar, but, you know, it's like a snowflake. Every wind is a little bit different. He's got to adapt. Every facility is different. You play in a stadium, it's different from playing in a field. And this is a pretty small stadium. There isn't a lot of impediments except on this near side that impact the wind. That's a beautiful backhand. High release, but not that high of a throw.
And an easy score here. Alex Odie scores again for Fugue, and Oregon ties the game at 8.
Once again, Jesse Schaffner used that high release backhand to Walrus. Quick movement, tight throws. Monisha White laid out, but fell short. Against the zone defense, it's these quick throws that are so tough to go against, because as a cup defender, you're trying to reposition yourself. And if you can't even get in a position before they move the disc again, that gets frustrating as a defender.
Odie has scored twice today. The game is even again. 5th goal this weekend. We can't get any separation in this game.
12.5 minutes away from the soft cap, at which point you'll add 2 goals to the highest score. We're not going to make it to 15 today in the women's final. The wind will prevent that, but has either team led by more than 1 the entire game so far?
No. It's been that close.
Entire way. Shayla Harris, who went tumbling, but good to see her pop right back up.
Well, unlike our men's semifinals last night, everybody has stayed pretty healthy so far.
Yeah, one key player that Stanford is missing, as the shot to Gag just sails over her outstretched arm. Francesco Olguin, freshman from Phoenix, was basically the defensive MVP for Stanford in quarterfinals. She rolled her ankle, sprained it. That's how quickly Oregon can strike.
Oh, man. And on the break, Emmy Lou gets the big hug and the launch into the air, and Oregon has gone on top 9-8 with the first 2 goals of the second half.
This is a huge sequence of throws down the field. Kaler shoots it. The big catch from Alex Odie. And then to the end zone where Emily Lou, somehow she was all alone. Now you could sort of tell by Lou Burris's demeanor that he was not entirely pleased with how the first half went. They were within 1, but all things considered, he wasn't pleased with the effort at times, defensively, the decision making, the focus. They look like a different team in the first couple points of the second half, don't they?
Yes, and it wasn't a Greg Popovich-like interview, but it was close. Next time we flip a coin, of course, the next time we talk to him, he wins, if that's the case. So
yeah,
we'll probably get a little bit more out of him. But understandably, not pleased with the first half. Good start second half, though.
Greg Popovich gets a bad rap sometimes. He can be a curmudgeon.
He can be very engaging, too.
He can be so insightful and engaging, and whether it's Popovich or Belichick, they have a job to do. And their job is not to talk to the media. It enhances our enjoyment of the game to learn a little bit about their inside thinking and strategy. Some people are more willing than others to engage, and Lou is one of the most engaging guys in Ultimate.
Well, I think the next time that Popovich appears on ESPN, you're going to get a call.
I think so?
Yeah. And you will be the designated interviewer, along with Doris Burke, Mark Jones, whoever happens to be on the game.
I could get Pop to raise his eyebrows, I think.
Love the fact one night they actually did flip a coin to decide who was going to do the interview. This one up in the air and hauled in by Michaela Meister, who has had a relatively quiet game so far.
Yeah, she was so good yesterday, and she hasn't played poorly today, but Oregon's done a good job on her defensively.
Layout there by Olguin, unable to come up with it. Back to Oregon, and who is going to get a 2-goal lead for the first time in the game? Maybe it's Fugue.
That is a great throw.
Yep.
Trapped on the sideline, through the wall. Oregon's got a great chance here to score its third in a row. If I'm Oregon, I might think about a timeout. They don't need one. With vision like that from Bethany Kaler.
Huge. Huge play. Foley Galvin on the receiving end, and for the first time tonight, Oregon has a 2-score advantage.
I gotta admit, when Bethany Kaler launched that, I didn't think that's where she was going with the disc. But to see Galvin open, keeping the eyes downfield, this is the throw from Kaler.
The changes that Coach Burris has made at halftime, are they reflected in the way they're attacking the zone now?
I think it's more about just the mentality that they're playing with, the focus, the demeanor. And they're not really changing strategy, they're just executing better. And the first throw to get off the sideline was tremendous. They forced Stanford to call a timeout. And you can see the energy from Oregon.
This becomes a very pivotal part of the game for Superfly, down 2 for the first time today. Foley Galvin, her 4th score of the weekend. So now you're inside the Stanford huddle. What's being discussed? What must change?
You know, they're not going to panic. We talked about that earlier. We talked about it yesterday. They were down 2 against Carleton. Yesterday they were down 3 against Washington in pool play. They've got the pieces to overcome a deficit. But so far, Oregon has done a better job maintaining possession of the disc while playing small ball. Stanford has played the huck and hope and play defense. Jamie Newer said at halftime she wanted her team to be a little bit more patient and work the disc more on the short field. So far, we have not really seen that.
This 3-0 run that starts the second half for Oregon. If you've been paying attention, you're certainly aware that's the longest streak of any goals in this game. Past champion since '07 has been dominated by the West. Ohio State did win in 14, but prior to that, Oregon 2013, UW, UC Santa Barbara, Oregon, Santa Barbara in '09, UBC, and then Stanford. Stanford has 7 national championships, but the bid for number 8 is in peril. And you mentioned better job with the disc. Here's the numbers that back it up. No turnovers for Oregon's second half.
Remarkable. Lim laying out to stop that disc from rolling. Well, here's the huck and hope game. Field Marsham, the closest Stanford player, but I mean, that can't be what Jamie Newer wanted.
No. It was about 15 yards outside the end zone. So now Oregon back with the disc and protecting a 2-goal lead.
One adjustment Stanford has made. They were playing largely a 4-person cup in the first half, now a 3-person cup. And the errant throw from Ella Hansen leads to Stanford red zone opportunity.
Big scoring chance right here for Stanford.
That's the understatement. This is vital. 5 minutes away from the soft cap to get it back within 1. If Stanford wants to win the title, it's almost imperative they punch this one in.
To the middle of the field, and a score. Right place, right spot, and finally we call Michaela Meister's name on a scoring opportunity. And we'll just keep the camera on her for the next 20 minutes.
She's going to have to do that again if Stanford's going to win. It's a good throw. Hovered right on the goal line. Meister got her feet in bounds. Meister in her 5th year at Stanford, grew up in Cambridge, went to Boston University Academy, where she played on the boys team.
And one of her teammates did that as well, I believe.
Another Massachusetts native, Caitlin Go, went to Lexington High School, played in the boys team there. Michaela joked that Caitlin Go didn't get to play against her in high school because Go was so much better than she was.
Two of the better scorers in this game, Meister and Schaffner, between themselves have scored just 1 goal. Of course, Jessie has yet to score, and Michaela just scored moments ago. Schaffner, of course, is dependent on for a lot of other things besides scoring. But we'll see how some of the stars factor in as we wrap this thing up, getting down to pivotal time of the game.
Roller pull, Schaffner will pick it up.
Jessie Schaffner, a look at the defense. Now the 3-person zone.
What a catch.
Yeah, good save out there by Lillian Weaver. Schaffner with a look to the sidelines and heads downfield to the end zone. And it's still going.
Monisha White cleans it up. That was not a terrible throw by Schaffner. The stall count was rising. Nothing was really developing. She gave Rachel Hershey a chance, but Monisha White has thrived in the role of the deep, deep. That's the kind of starting cut that Stanford wants. Nice little 10-15 yard under to get things moving.
Good grab with the right hand by Meister, who scored moments ago.
Good job by Michaela Meister on the handler cut, slashing across the field.
Now up to midfield and beyond. Meister with a look downfield. Kicks it off to Thompson. And dropped. In the hands of Hoster, and back the other way comes Oregon.
Was working so well with Meister every other throw. She was doing all these squirrely handler cuts. Alex Odie couldn't guard her.
2 Stanford players collide. Good defense by Stephanie Lim. Another chance. And a layout and a catch. Huge possession for Stanford as White sends it toward the goal.
Don't give up on this disc.
Pick up now to Oregon. Their clock becoming a factor, 90 seconds.
Until the soft cap.
Weaver, Walrus launching toward Hoffner. Schaffner tries to come up with it, can't do it. Sails out of bounds. Foul called. What'd you think?
You called foul and you're contesting. You can send it back, you can take a ruling.
Let's take another look. Now the left hand was on Schaffner's back. The right hand got the disc. It looked
you can also ask
cleanly.
for a ruling. Or you can send it
It's
back.
really close.
I'm just going to rule in this case. Okay.
You can either ask for a ruling or say foul.
Yeah, it's going to be my ruling. It's not a foul. Stanford district there. Very close.
The observer said very close too.
You thought the defender over the back should have been enough to call a foul, though.
Nah, I think it's a good no call.
Especially in
Because,
such a big game.
you know, you're trying to, as best you can, replicate the circumstances of no contact. And I think even if the left arm isn't on the back there,
Woo! Look at the defense by Weaver.
the tall right arm of the Stanford defender makes that play. But I think in terms of the idea what would have happened if not for the foul, I think that's the right call. And the soft tap horn just went off. So it'll either be a game to 12 or game to 13, depending on what happens here.
to midfield. Stanford down 1, hands of Stephanie Lim. Michaela Meister.
Meister and Lim want to touch the disc as many times as possible. Not just this point, but the rest of the way.
Reaching up with that right hand to Lim. Sending it straight ahead. Big moment for Stanford. Meister off the hands of Stanford and back to Oregon.
Transition defense here. Don't lapse your focus and make a mistake. Good swing. You see the Stanford defenders are a little tired. With a shot from Schaffner, too much for Bartruff. Great look, she was open. Schaffner just has not been able to find her place in the wind. And I was thinking that maybe Stanford should take a timeout, and well, they oblige. You can just see the body language of Meister, Lim, White, Hoster. It's been a long point. Those handlers have been working so hard.
Temperature on the field has gone up since the sun has ducked in and out of clouds today. Started at 71 degrees. It's expected to reach the low 80s before the day is over. Two hard-working teams for the national championship.
The stakes of this game are just monumental. You know, for Oregon to win a third title since 2010 under Lou Burris in his final game, that would be storybook. And then you have Stanford, all the great players who have played for Superfly. Dominique Fontenette, Gwen Ambler, A.J. Johnson, Lim, Meister, the current incarnation, Robin Davis, the coach, Jenny Burney, Alicia Dansker was so good. Dansker and Emerson, the only players to have ever won 4 college titles. They were both freshmen in 2003, played 5 years, won 03, 05, 06, and 07. How about that for a resume?
Yeah, that's amazing. In any sport, that type of dominance is unusual, but certainly historic. Start this possession, Stanford with the disc. Meister, far side of the field. You mentioned you want her to touch it as much as possible. And they are keeping it in the hands of Meister as much as possible. Good play, Monisha White. How about Oregon's man-to-man here?
Changed up the look. Stanford likes the man-to-man matchup.
Layout keeps it going by Stephanie Lim.
Meister's just doing work. Alex Odie can't keep up. Can she get a good mark on near the goal line?
Meister a look and broken up.
That's
Huge.
Olivia Bartruff, who got a fingertip in there just enough. Jesse
Ooh.
Schaffner slightly misread it. It's a tough read.
Oregon might have had numbers. Stanford still with a chance to tie. Hands of Meister.
Oh, 2 hands. Dos manos.
I don't think we need to translate, but thank you.
Oh, Monisha White again.
Stanford still has life. Question, can it move it down the field and not turn it over? This one just hanging up in the air.
That D by Monisha White reminded me a little bit of her older brother, Nathan White. Plays for San Francisco Revolver, who's been here in Milwaukee all week long. Currently in grad school at Georgia Tech.
Bartriff, good save at the sidelines. Schaffner to the middle of the field. Oregon scoring chance, Weaver and Alex Odie. Odie's got somebody open.
Everyone on the field right now is exhausted after that point. But a huge sigh of relief for Oregon, and now an incredible uphill battle for Stanford. Now Meister had the disc on the goal line, but there wasn't an opening. The dump didn't work out. It's a game to 13 now, Oregon up 11-9. And Alex Odie, who looked exhausted from trying to chase Meister back and forth across the field, has the wherewithal to put that to space, and it's Bartriff who got a key D at one end, makes the grab at the other.
Her 21st goal of the tournament. She is the top goal scorer. That's a big one. So the game now being played up to 13. And her fourth goal, by the way, today will decide the national champion. These women have been on the field for about an hour and 40 minutes so far.
There's no hard cap. We're playing to 13. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Men's final slated to start at 3:30 this afternoon after the conclusion of this one, if in fact it ends.
We'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be a while potentially. Obviously, Oregon has a quicker shot at ending it than does Stanford as we play to 13. White downfield.
How about that?
And Rempel with a look to Meister. Meister trying to get loose and get it back. Instead, they find it open.
Gegg caught the deep shot. After a few throws, Gegg catches the goal. Stanford back within one.
Courtney Gegg brings Stanford within one at 11-10. Stanford's fifth score in the red zone in 10 tries.
Gegg, if you remember, the triathlete. Good, smart reset. Patience around the goal line.
Rempel and Meister and White. And when it all ends, 23, Courtney Gegg.
Monisha White has been so comfortable and confident with the disc in her hands.
3 scores now for Gegg this weekend. And maybe to this point, none bigger.
Now the pressure shifts to Oregon a little bit. If they score, they're in great position. Obviously needing just one more. If they're broken here, then all of a sudden Oregon has given up a 2-0 mini run, and Stanford's 2 points away.
Pulled downfield out of bounds.
Rolled out of bounds. They pick it up on the sideline. 4-person cup trapping the sideline here.
Going back to a defense used in the first half.
Testing White. Bartriff in the area. Go trying to help out.
Schaffner with the launch. And deflected harmlessly to the ground for Stanford.
Maybe asking why is Oregon just giving away the disc? Well, they'd rather give it away down at this end of the field than near their own goal line. kind of the strategy Stanford entered the game with.
Yep. Was a chance to score with it, too. Schaffner comes away with it for Oregon.
And you expect like this to get another turnover and then have a transition opportunity. And Schaffner with another overthrow. Oh, but Alex Odie, how many times has she come up big today?
Short field to work with for Oregon.
There it is.
Yep. Bartruff scores again, and Oregon back up by 2 and now a point away from a championship. But Alex Odie was large here.
Yeah, beating Steph Lim to the disc. Weaver confidently picked it up. Quick pivot to the end zone.
12 goals in the day for Oregon, 10 in the red zone. Ducks 1 away from the title. Stanford must score 3 consecutive times to win.
Olivia Bartruff has sure made a name for herself this weekend.
Came in with 17, now has 22.
Head coach Lou Burris won championships as a player in club with Seattle Sockeye. Been at the sidelines for 2 Fugue titles. Last year, Colorado men's head coach Jim Shetler went into the season knowing it would be his last run with Mama Bird. Won the title and walked off into the sunset.
And Lou had told his players back in January that he would end the season as head coach.
Want to give them time to prepare and make plans.
Yep. Stanford trying to get back in it quickly. Not going to happen. Jadra Rotalante with the D. But Oregon turns it over deep in its own territory. Here's a chance for Stanford. A must-convert situation. Stephanie Lim handling.
Really good end zone defense from Oregon.
There it is.
Stanford scores anyway.
12-11 our score. Halsey Hoster with a much-needed point for Stanford.
So Oregon can't celebrate just yet.
Boy, those turnovers too, in your own zone, so close to the goal. Give the opposition a great opportunity and a much-needed one for Stanford.
Now this is the point for Oregon to win it. If Oregon gets broken here, then all of a sudden Stanford feels like they're going to win. We'll see the 7 that Oregon will put on the field. Alex Odie, Olivia Bartruff, Lillian Weaver, Rachel Hershey, Bethany Kaler, Jessie Schaffner, and Haley Walrus. No surprises. They will play as one 7-person unit.
Big moment here.
Out there for Stanford, Manisha White to pull. Caitlin Go, Courtney Gegg, Veronica Cruz, with of course Michaela Meister and Stephanie Lim. Those are the lines here in this crucial 24th point in the women's title game.
Pull on the ground, and here's Schaffner. 3 in the backfield against 3-man defense. Good catch there, much needed by Walrus.
I gave her some slack for the one-handed grab attempt earlier, but this was her only play to reach out and claw it. And she ripped it away when it looked like the defense had the angle.
Oregon playing for championship point, and it's back to Stanford. Michaela Meister will pick it up. Chance to tie. Caitlin Go, fans rising, watching this one at the end. Limb cutting across, now in the hands of Manisha White, and that one gets up in the air. So back to Oregon, the Discos, and another chance to win it. Down the field, and that's headed nowhere.
Do you feel the intensity right now?
I like it. It is a lot of fun. Can't imagine what it's like down there.
Yeah, it's hard to stay calm in moments like this.
These women have played almost 2 hours here. This is going to be a good scoring opportunity for Oregon with a short field. This could win the match and win the championship. To the end zone. No, sir.
Monisha White slams it down. Schaffner thought that was it.
Sure
Look at
looked
this.
good when it started off.
Great looking throw from Weaver, and the wind playing tricks on Oregon's mind.
And White being smart, not trying to catch and maybe inadvertently deflect it. Just slammed it to the ground. Stanford still in trouble, however, and turns it over. Schaffner a chance for Oregon again to win. To the middle of the field. Championship point. Is it this one? Yes! It's over. Oregon, national champions.
The leading scorer in the tournament, Olivia Bartroff. The clinching score for Oregon's third championship in 6 years. Their second in the last 3. Patience on this last point. Schaffner didn't try to be the hero. Kaler with a gorgeous high release backhand. And the Oregon girls will fly all the way home with gold medals around their necks.
They are the 2015 USA Ultimate College Champions, winning their third championship. In a game played to 13 today, Oregon got the decisive point. And for Stanford, disappointment, but a terrific run this year and a terrific finalist.
Yeah,
We'll come back and talk to the winners right after this commercial break. Oregon, your national champ. The 2015 USA Ultimate College Championships are presented by Discraft Ultrastar, the official disc of USA Ultimate. Ask your retailer for Discraft Ultrastar. The Women's Sports Foundation, ensuring equality and leadership opportunities for girls and women through sports. And the Girls Ultimate Movement, a strategic initiative designed to increase girls' participation in the sport of ultimate. We're back. Jim Barber, Evan Lepler, both teams in sportsmanship and good spirit gathering together. Coach Burrows, good enough to join us right now, celebrating his final game as national champion. Coach, and I know you told us earlier today it's not about you, but the fact you go out as a winner in your final game, what does it mean to you?
To me, I think the thing that I'm happiest about is that our team was rewarded for the work and the sacrifice that they put in. They worked just so unbelievably hard to get here and gave up so much to get here and to win. And we had to fight all the things you have to fight for a whole season. And we had to fight an awesome team, and we had to fight the win and come out on top. I'm just really happy for them.
What sacrifices did this team make? What kind of work did they put in to get to this point?
Well, you know, we have this philosophy called the clown tent, where everybody kind of brings what they have to bring. But part of that is you have to check your ego, and you have to be willing to give stuff up to be a part of trying to be a great team means that everybody has to give something up, and so everybody's sacrifice is different.
Lou, on a day when Jessie Schaffner didn't have her throws as on point as yesterday, others stepped up. What do you think of the performances of Haley, Ashley, Bethany, and especially Olivia Bartroff, the leading scorer in the tournament?
Yeah, great. I mean, you know, I think one of the really nice things I like about our team is that we are a team. We're not one person, and so that you can have, you know, there are very few teams out here that can have one of their best players struggle and still win, and we're fortunate to be strong enough that we can do that.
Coach, what was your vantage point on the final point of this match?
I was on the high corner there watching that forehand go up high over for us to get that crucial D to keep them from getting the upwinder to tie. So it was nice watching that go overhead.
Congratulations on your final game, being a champion.
Thank you.
And enjoy your retirement.
Thanks.
Lou Burris, our special guest, head coach of Oregon. His final game, and it is time now for the Discraft Ultra-Star play of the game. It's not a hard one to pick out, I don't think.
The final score, Schaffner patiently working it with Kaler, back and forth, and then Bartroff broke 3. That's a tough throw by Bethany Kaler to find her. But in this win, the backhand much more comfortable than the flick. And Bartroff, as she did all game long, ran it down, secured it for the win.
And here is Olivia Bartroff. Olivia, take us through the final moment, which led to Oregon's national championship and what it means for you as well.
Well, this might be my last year, so it was really wonderful just to get to play with these girls. They're wonderful. I guess the last minute, I was just thinking, I better catch that, or I'm not sure I can run back and play more D. So it was, I guess, sort of a fight or flight instinct that you got to do it, or you don't know what's going to happen next. So I'm just really proud of my team and happy that we were able to come through with that.
Olivia, you've had a lot of great moments wearing that jersey. Late in this game, are you thinking about what it means to win a title, or is it very much in the moment for you?
I think a lot of it is, I guess I'm being sort of redundant, but it's for the team and thinking that you really don't want to let down people whom you love so much and who you know love you and who want this so bad, especially for the people whose last year it is. So I think in those final moments, maybe not so much on the field, but on the line, you're thinking that this is it, and it's your job to get it done and have fun and make your teammates proud and just be able to finish the game with them with smiles on your faces.
The coach is leaving this program, Evan, after this game. What's Lou mean to you, and what will you miss about him?
I think we talked about this a lot last night. We had a team meeting and sort of an appreciation dinner for him. And he's just so much more than a coach for us. He's a mentor, and he teaches us how to lead the team ourselves, and he leaves us with such a wonderful legacy, and as such, just the epitome of what a mentor should be. We were talking about people go for job interviews and they can talk about Lou and that gets them a job, and I think that just speaks to everything he is. He's there for anyone. I think I could call him 10 years down the road and say I'm having marital problems, and he'd probably have useful advice for me. So besides being a brilliant ultimate mind, which everyone already knows he is, he's just a phenomenal man and really a mentor for everyone on the team.
Olivia, the 3rd Oregon title in the last 5 or 6 years. You haven't won it back-to-back, though. When do you decide whether you're coming back or not?
That's a great question. I think when the moment strikes me and when a decision appears by the grace of God, I don't have a great answer for that one.
Cool. Congratulations. Enjoy this one. A really great win over a really strong Stanford team.
Absolutely. They're wonderful competitors. Olivia
Bartroff, 6 goals today. The bracket has been completed with Oregon winning its 3rd national championship over Stanford, 13-11. Don't go anywhere. In another 20 minutes, we're back. No rest for the weary. After this great women's championship, we'll have the men's final for you between Oregon and North Carolina. For Evan Lepler, I'm Jim Barber. So long from Eline Soccer Park here in Milwaukee. Again, the final score, Oregon 13 and Stanford 11. Coming up, Oregon, North Carolina. To watch this entire game on replay, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. Thanks, everybody, for watching. This has been a presentation of ESPN.